Hey everybody, my name is Brendan Noble and I'm a young adult author. This video will be going out a little late because I was very busy this last week and didn't manage to get the video out on Friday. But I'm very excited about the topic we're discussing this week, and that is publishing wide with your paperback books. Now first, if you're one of those people that is in KDP Select and Kindle Unlimited and you're saying I can't publish wide, that's false when it comes to paperback. Your KDP Select and Kindle Unlimited exclusivity is only for your ebook. So you can still publish wide of your paperback without publishing wide of your ebook. And I'm going to explain why you definitely should. And with this process, we're going to be comparing KDP and their paperback publishing and their expanded distribution with that system versus Ingram Spark, which is probably the most widely used wide distribution for paperback book systems, who also runs print on demand and has their own catalog. So first, let's talk about why you should be publishing wide with your paperback book no matter what. Unlike with eBooks and KDP Select, there's no exclusivity when it comes to paperback books. This means you have the advantage of still being on Amazon and having the same competitive aspect there as everybody else, but you can publish wherever you want. And that is a very powerful thing. And that means you should try to be able to get your book out there wherever you can, because the more places you have your book available, the higher chance your book is going to sell, as long as you're marketing it well. With both the systems we're going to talk about today, your book will show up both on Amazon and off of Amazon in places like Barnes & Noble and indie bookstores around the world. And that is very powerful because you can get online sales or in-store sales with either of these systems. And getting those sales can be extremely powerful. Now, it still requires a lot of work to be able to get your book into stores, and that doesn't guarantee any sales. But having the book available there opens so many doors that you'd be leaving closed otherwise, and there's absolutely no reason to do that. Point number 2, let's look at KDP, or Kindle Direct Publishing. KDP, or printing, or as it used to be called CreateSpace, has been used by a lot of authors as a really go-to place to upload their paperback books. Their system is pretty simple, easy to work with, and they have a lot of templates available for you doing your paperback book. You'll get about 60% of your royalties minus printing costs, and that's a pretty good deal. You get pretty good sales on it. A lot of your sales are going to be through Amazon, so if you're not really going to want to put a lot of work in to go beyond Amazon, it can be nice just to go through KDP, and it's because it's easy, it's simpler, and you often don't have to deal with a lot of the struggles of going wide. But if you don't go wide, you'll be missing out on a lot of potential sales. So even if you only want to do the simpler route, which is going through KDP's extended distribution system, you should be able to just click that box. When you go on your pricing page and your distribution page on KDP, you'll see that there's this box for click for expanded distribution. You'll be only getting about 40% of royalties in that case because Amazon is sending it through different channels and actually going through Ingram Spark catalog like we'll talk about later. And so you're going to get a little bit less share of that book, but you can get a wider distribution, and it can be really easy to do with just a click of a button. But for a lot of people, that's all they want. The problem with this is that with KDP being an Amazon company, a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people won't get your book through extended distribution because they don't like Amazon and they won't work with Amazon's system. And that includes Barnes & Noble, which is going to be probably, if you're in the United States, the second biggest retailer you're going to be trying to target online when it comes to paperback sales. So losing out on that can be a major thing, and it is a major drawback of going with KDP extended distribution versus Ingram Spark. Plus, the royalties aren't great. 40% is pretty low. You'll be noticing you'll have to price your book pretty high just to get a couple, even get $1 or $2 on your book. So that can be really a disadvantage of going with KDP. But there is a huge ease of use here. You won't have to make 2 different files to your books. You won't have to deal with some of Ingram Spark's quirkier things. But there are some significant disadvantages, and you'll be going wide, but you might not be reaching even the biggest players that you want to reach. So on point number 3, let's talk about Ingram Spark. So Ingram Spark is probably the biggest player when it comes to this because Ingram has the largest catalog that distributes to bookstores both in the United States, and they have partner networks across the world in the UK, Europe, Australia, India. They're managing to get your book everywhere. And even with KDP, if you do that extended distribution, a lot of that is going through Ingram's marketing channels anyway. So you might as well go direct through Ingram to get that. With Ingram, you'll have to have your own ISBN. I recommend using your own ISBN on KDP as well. That way you have exclusive rights. And so there's some setup costs there. But I do recommend Ingram for the reason that you'll be able to get into a lot of these other countries and Barnes & Noble and things that you wouldn't be able to get through KDP. Their system is a little quirkier. You have to pay a setup fee, though there are promo codes for that, waiving that fee. And then you also have to pay the $25 fee, I believe it is right now, for any revisions that you want to make to your book after that. So those are disadvantages, but if you're marketing your book well, you can reach your book into a lot of different bookstores and across the world that you would not be able to do even with KDP's extended distribution. Another thing that is a huge advantage with Ingram Spark is that you get to set what's called your wholesale discount. On KDP Expanded Distribution, you only get that 40% no matter what, which means they're setting the wholesale discount very high. Now, with KDP, they're taking a significant chunk out of that. So actually the bookstores aren't getting that high of a wholesale discount, so it's not that much of an advantage. With Ingram, you have a choice. Usually you go with either the highest discount, which is about 55%, which is technically the standard because it would give the bookstores about 40% as Ingram takes 15%. And that would allow a lot more bookstores to potentially put your book on their shelves. Now there's disadvantages of that as you're going to get a pretty low royalty per book unless you price your book very high. And that's a struggle and a lot of debate authors go about. The other option is setting your wholesale discount as low as possible, 30% in some countries and 35% elsewhere. And that actually is going to give you better royalties than even direct through KDP because you can get about 65 to 75% of your royalties. And that's a pretty big advantage. And being able to have that option is very helpful. So unless you're targeting bookstores directly, because even with that lower wholesale discount, if someone walks into your bookstore and says they want to order this book, they'll order it because they'll still get a wholesale discount and make profit. It's harder to get into the shelves, but it's still possible. And unless you're a best-selling author and have a great campaign for getting into those bookstores specifically and contacting them directly, you're probably not going to get that anyway. So being able to have that online presence and have a higher royalty still, but still going wide is a huge advantage for Ingram. Just be aware though, but while using Ingram, there's going to be a different file format than Amazon's templates use. It's still PDF for both the document and the cover, but the specs will be a little bit different. They use different paper thickness. And on that, Ingram's paper I've always found is higher quality versus KDP's. That's a debate, but I've always enjoyed Ingram's a little bit more than KDP's on that. One more advantage with Ingram Spark is that you can also do hardcover copies of your book. You cannot do that with KDP. And that's awesome because hardcover copies are often like the premium copy of a book, especially if you're selling in a category that is often more physical copy specific. That can be a huge advantage and can make you look like a much more legitimate author. And again, these hardcover copies, like the paperback, would show up on Amazon as well. So there's no disadvantage of at least going through Ingram for your hard copy books. All you need is a new ISBN and be able to make sure that your inside and your cover both fit for that book style. So for point 4, let me discuss why I actually choose to use both KDP and Ingram Spark. If you use your ISBN and connect both on KDP and Ingram Spark, you can use both systems. But why would I want to do that if I'm getting slightly higher royalties with Ingram Spark, for example? Well, if you use Ingram Spark and you sell, which will sell to Amazon if you don't use KDP, the problem is after you get a few sales, KDP and Amazon will often display your book as out of stock, even though it's a print-on-demand book, so it can't be out of stock. That's a problem because it can really decrease your sales and delay the orders. So even though you take a slight hit on printing costs and royalty, I choose to do both KDP so I can always have my book available quickly to people on Amazon and use Ingram Spark so that my book is available to every catalog across the world and be able to get Barnes & Noble and elsewhere. That way you can hit the advantages of both systems without finding this quirk that exists between Ingram and Amazon. It's annoying, and I would rather just go with Ingram because of all the advantages we talked about, but being able to balance that getting into the Amazon, which is the biggest market in the United States, while also handling and being in a lot of the other markets is a big balance, and it's a big thing to be able to do for both. So this is why there's one of the big advantage of paperback and physical copy books in general, is that there's no exclusivity with Amazon. Even though Amazon has really started this battle with Ingram Spark over displaying how many books that are available, if you can choose to do both, you get the best of both. You get KDP's advantage of going direct to Amazon, and you get Ingram's advantage of going wide everywhere else. The key is, if you're doing this, when you're going through KDP, do not select the extended distribution option. If you actually, they're gonna gray out that box if you're already going through Ingram as well, because they'll notice that ISBN isn't available. But please do not do that, because it can really restrict your options. So once it's already out there, Ingram often won't accept it because it's already been through extended distribution through Amazon. So really focus on that and don't screw that up. Make sure you're taking your time to make sure all the right boxes are checked. If you have any questions on that, feel free to shoot me a message in the comments below. I want to make sure that that's helpful for everybody, because this can be sometimes a complicated process, but being able to do it right is very important, and it's really advantageous, and you can get a lot of sales that you wouldn't have been expecting if you went just through KDP. All right, that's all I have for you today on publishing your paperback books wide. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe down below. I'll be coming out with videos hopefully every Friday, and I hope everyone's enjoying their new year, and I hope 2020 has started off well.